Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, I'm Michael Dowell, and today I'm here with Robert Zoltan, and he is an amazing illustrator and a great friend. And we're here. We're going to talk about Robert's book cover illustration, as well as I'm sure we'll talk about other things. But I think the point here is I wanted to just showcase. I love your illustration. I love the paintings that you do and the drawings that you do. I just want to showcase your work so that people can see what you do, and maybe we can find some connections between the people who are watching this video who are, self-publishing their own books. Maybe they can hire you, and we've created a tool. It's a website. It's listchub.com, and we're going to look at how people can find you on ListChub and hire you. And ListChub also, right, I've been working with you, Robert, and we've developed on ListChub actually a checklist, which is a step-by-step like order of events, how a book cover can be designed, so that both people will know, like you, and if somebody's hiring you, everybody will know, hey, this is what happens first, and this is what happens second, this is what happens third, and then so everybody can get through the process, make the process easy for the person to work with you, easy for you to work with the client. So
Streamline the
that
process.
said, let's look at some of your amazing artwork. You got some really beautiful books. And what I'm going to do is I'll give you to share the screen, right? I'm sharing the screen now, and then I'm going to send it over to you. So I hope this is going to work. This is so weird the way they do this.
I see your screen.
Yeah, now we're seeing, I don't even know what we're seeing.
Should I have done
This
that?
is ridiculous.
Maybe I should have clicked it instead.
Welcome to Zoom. Okay, let's see.
And you can edit this out. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it worked last time when I tried to share straight away. But do you want to stop, undo what you did, and let me try to hit the green?
Share. Well, I want to make.
Because I'm looking at your screen now. I
I
have.
know, but I have to make you the host.
Oh, I see.
That's what we had to do last time. So
Weird.
I'll stop the sharing, and then I'll make you the host. This is so not what I expect. Every time I'm using Zoom, it's exactly not what I'm expecting it to be.
Yeah, it
And
keeps
that's okay.
saying that host disabled the screen.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make you the host. Change host. Now you're the host.
That should
So
work. Okay. And I'll share.
okay, cool. So let's take a look at your work through your screen. Great.
You see it now?
Yep. I can see your screen.
Okay. So this is my ArtStation portfolio. I have my own site, but I actually prefer ArtStation's interface. It's just a really beautiful.
We don't care about ArtStation. We want to hear about your artwork.
Okay. So this is my portfolio on ArtStation. And
Hey, can we see some of your recent paintings and like book cover artwork that you've done?
yeah, so you can see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this would probably be the latest painting I did. And this is a painting of the sorceress Morgan Le Fay from Celtic myth and legend. And
really cool.
I paint in a traditional manner, traditional approach. I do actually paint digitally because of the limited space in my studio and paint fumes and all that. I don't have a big enough space, and I don't have a place to store canvases and all that. But but everyone thinks that I paint just traditionally with actual paints, because that's how I paint. I just paint on one layer, and I paint just like a painter with mostly one brush. I have about 3 brushes I use. I don't use any kind of real Photoshop tricks or anything. maybe a couple little tools I'll occasionally take advantage of, but mostly I stick with painting as if I'm painting a picture.
Now,
With
how did you get started with this piece? What was the inspiration for you?
this was originally well, this was actually a self-promotional piece. I just was I was drawing, sketching, and I found a picture of a woman that I liked, and I didn't know who she was or what the picture would be, and I drew her, and I need to add that drawing. Michael, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
don't think I have added that drawing to this. I have to add that to the portfolio, the actual drawing. But it became a bit complicated because I ended up trying to do I was doing a picture of the Savage Avengers, which is a comic book featuring, it's a crazy combination of like Conan and Wolverine, and it's like X-Men people and Conan. So they mix up fantasy and science in a comic character, superheroes and all this. Anyway, it just,
mixed with the Avengers. That's good.
yeah, well, it's been pretty successful. I haven't even read it yet. I've just seen the covers, and the artwork's really nice. So I actually did this after I'd done the Wonder Woman picture. The Wonder Woman picture was very popular, so I thought of doing a picture of the Savage Avengers, and this was me, Morgan Le Fay, which would be a good villain for them, and then maybe Wolverine, Doctor Strange, and Magic from the X-Men, this young female sorceress character with this big sword. But the painting was turning out all right, but it just wasn't really wasn't working for me. It wasn't inspiring me. I am dubious about superheroes looking good painted in a painterly fashion. It looks kind of, they look ridiculous to me, kind of, unless they're done. Alex Ross has done a good job, some other artists, but I don't really like that. I don't really like that treatment of superheroes. So anyway, she was looking amazing, and everybody else and everything else was looking okay. So I simply got rid of everyone. I just painted over them.
It had multiple characters.
Yeah, it had multiple characters, but I never do a painting unless it's everything's super strong, and I wasn't feeling strong about the painting in every way, compositionally, everything. So I just got rid of them, painted over them, and I devoted the picture completely to her, and it turned out exactly the way I wanted it to, and very excited. So Morgan Le Fay defeated the Savage Avengers, basically. So she won, and there's only her on the picture, and it's just turned out really what I was shooting for, which is a almost early 20th century, turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s, classic golden age of illustration look, like Liam Decker and Dean Cornwell and those kind of painters, and I'm really jazzed about it. And
yeah, those are some really classic illustrators. I love looking at their stuff.
So that's the story behind this piece, and so I just used it as a self-promotional piece. And
yeah, this is great. I mean, I love it's very. It feels at once like design, and as well as like a very real world, which is one thing that that really attracts me to like what would be in my mind a book cover, right? As I'm looking at it, because there's this really cool line work, as well as it's very 3D and very but it's also not overly rendered, so you can, there's like
right,
actually
not overly polished.
focus,
Yeah,
right? It's like
yeah, I
real
try.
focus to look at, and your eye is actually guided, but then you have all
Yes.
these cool like spirals and the moon. I think it's really neat. I really
Yeah,
like
well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, the lighting is directing you, and the composition is directing you to her face. And what you said is a very important point. A lot of modern painters, especially painting digitally, they over render things and they over outline and over paint things, and that's why it has a very artificial look, as if a bunch of like sharp objects in space. And the lighting is, there's lighting coming from all over, which isn't how natural lighting is in real life. So I really try to capture a feel of. There was a great illustrator that I'm blanking on his name now, but he wrote several books, and people use them as almost like a Bible of illustration. He wrote them in the 50s. And the one thing he talked about is there's only two light sources in nature. There's a direct light source and there's a secondary light source. So apart from that, when you talk about book covers, there's also, if I did this for a book cover, I would extend the top so that the title of the book could go at the top. I would extend the cloud, the dark kind of night sky cloud look on the back. I would extend that so the painting would be taller. If I need to, I could extend the sides a bit, but mainly.
You talking about this guy, Andrew
Uh,
Lucas?
yes, Andrew Loomis. Thank you. Yes, Andrew Loomis, who Alex Ross learned everything from, the one that does all the paintings of the superheroes that he
Right.
did.
Yeah, and you talk about like Lion Decker and those guys, like N.C. Wyeth,
Let's see
goes
why.
along with them in my mind.
Maxfield Parrish.
Yeah, yeah, I love their stuff. Let's look at some more of your stuff.
Yeah, I'll just quickly.
I know
Yeah,
you published some recent.
I'll just quickly go. So
Oh,
this was just a nude model sketch, and she looked like she should be Wonder Woman. So I developed this and developed the look of her costume based on all the different iterations of Wonder Woman's costumes that have existed. And it's rarely that I just get like patriotic looking picture or, as I said, superhero paintings. But this felt like Wonder Woman, and it's gotten a huge amount of attention and a huge amount of shares on Deviant Art and Pinterest and all over the place. People just love it, and I really am proud of this picture because of everything about it. Her movement, the incredible weight that she has, the anatomy, her gesture, the movement of the flag, even along with her figure in the. It's got a very mythic look. A painting that's probably needed right now. Something positive about America. So I
yeah,
was. So I was
yeah,
very happy with this one. Yeah, and this is again. This was a self-promotional project.
very larger than life feeling. I mean, and again,
It's
to me,
mythic.
when I'm looking at a lot of your paintings, they feel like book covers, even though some of them you're saying are just, you're not thinking, you personally are thinking of them as a painting or a self-promotional piece, but to me they have the quality of a book cover where it stands for something, right?
Yeah,
It's not just
there's a story. Yeah, it's story. It's full of storytelling.
yes, it does feel like it evokes a world, and it feels like there's a way in to that world,
Yeah,
which,
and that's
a
why
book
it is.
for self-published author, right? The book cover is the thing that first attracts somebody, right, visually to,
Yeah,
we're very visual creatures. We want to see something that's visually exciting. So having this on the front of your book, right, to me, some sort of image that just grabs you, that makes me want to think, hey, what is that? I
yeah.
want.
I mean, the truth is, yeah, I'm an author too, and the thing is, basically, a good book, a good cover can sell a book. If you have a bad cover, someone's probably not going to read it. Now, you could get a book with a good cover, and the inside may not be good, but it's unlikely people will even bother to buy something if it has a bad cover. And in fact,
And wasn't there, like, didn't I read something recently where you had uh, one of your illustrations, somebody had just taken one of your illustrations and stuck it on a book that was
yeah,
in the public domain, and they were just selling it on Amazon, and they didn't bother to get your permission, but apparently somebody found your illustration in the wild and decided that it was good enough to use to sell books on Amazon.
oh, I had to hunt down and shut down about 8 uh, instances of that, actually. I started finding, I did searches for images, and I found them being used for uh, band using them for album covers, people using it just on their sites. A guy actually, believe it or not, having it as like free on his image site, but if you wanted to use it for commercial purposes, you had to pay him. It was my image.
Oh,
And
nice. That sounds like Getty Images.
yeah, and a cover of the Princess of Mars.
Getty Images has problems with that. They publish
That's,
things on their website, and then the actual artist, right? They'll contact the actual artist who's got their own image on their own website and say, "Hey, you got to pay us. This is our image." And then the artist will have to get a lawyer to tell
oh my
Getty
God.
Images, "Hello, this is my image.
Oh, yes, yes.
You don't charge me for my image. I own the rights to this. In fact, you shouldn't have it on your website."
Yeah, it's huge. It's actually a gigantic problem, which, yeah, we could go into that. It's crazy. I'll just show you real quickly that illustration. Ironically, it was an illustration that I was going to use for the cover of Edgar Rice Burroughs' A Princess of Mars,
Oh yeah, this is
which
fantastic.
they did the movie John Carter of Mars. It's the same from that book. I was going to do an illustrated version, and I backed off when I realized I was going to have some trouble with some problems with the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate, because even though it's in public domain, I didn't want to step on their toes. they were
Did you
agreeable.
write them a letter or something? Did you
Yes,
reach
I
out?
did actually. I got all the way to the president, and then he was non-responsive, and I decided to cancel the project because of that. Because I respect them, and I didn't want to go ahead with the project, even though the book is in public domain, because I wanted their approval and for the fans.
Yeah.
Also, because Edgar Rice Burroughs has a huge fan base, Tarzan and John Carter of Mars, it's a huge fan base. So I actually canceled the project, and then like, I turn around a year later and find out someone has put out the book that I was going to put out, just using this just for the cover and selling it. Yes, so I'm still in.
So they were selling the book on Amazon using your
Yes,
image, which is right here.
yeah,
This cool image. They stuck it on the book without asking you, and just
yes,
started selling on Amazon.
yes, and I'm still in legal communication with Amazon about it. It's a giant problem on there. So, yes, and just very infuriating, of course. But you know, if someone, well, that's all we need to say about that.
Okay,
So
let's
let's
look.
move on to. I mean, the thing is, you know, well, yeah. Let's just go back to the. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the portfolio.
Yeah,
So let's go. Do you want to go through? Let's go through a project and a
let's
couple.
see a project. Yeah, where we can see
I'll show you
like
a
the
book cover.
development.
First, I'll show you a book cover of one of my books that I wrote. Just I'm quite proud of the cover, and then we can move on to one I did for a client.
All right.
This is more of a graphic approach, almost a tarot card look, or a wood block, or a sophisticated comic look.
So I have
Um,
a question, like from the perspective of how long does it take? Is it quicker to make a line work like pen and ink work versus a full color painterly illustration?
well, the thing is that for a cover, you're not going to have just a pen and ink drawing, but this is basically ignoring the color of the yellow highlight on Rogues of Mirth. This is like it's like a duotone, so the ink has to work with color in some way, and uh, I would say that in some ways a painting usually takes longer, but the truth is if the inking is very sophisticated, like this is, where sometimes the elements are even put together separately and it's a collage and you end up having to work on the composition a great deal. Painting has to have a strong composition, but inking almost more so. It's so graphic that it has to work graphically. So you squint your eyes and the blacks and whites have to be so well balanced. I would hesitate to say it takes a shorter time, but it might take like a couple days less time. It might take 50 to 70% of the time of a painting. Yes.
So
So
a painting typically for you might take what, a week or
yeah,
so?
a painting could take any place from, I'd say, well, if it was very simple, say it was just a character's face or something, and for some reason and there was just a color of a background. You know, I mean, it could take anywhere from, it could go very quickly, but it's unlikely. You have to do sketches first. You have to get approval from the client. You have to get that back. You have to finish the paint pencil. Then I got to scan in. Then I got to paint it. Everything's got to be improved. So, I mean, really, usually 5 days to 2 weeks or more. I mean, a really complicated painting could take more, but generally, like the Wonder Woman picture was probably came close to 2 weeks. The Sorceress, not counting the detour I took, it was probably about 9 days or so.
You don't want to remember the pain.
Yeah,
You
it's all
want to
worth
think
it.
about, hey, it was quick. It only
It's
took.
all, well, yeah. I mean, if I try to just think about how long she took, 7 to 9 days probably for Morgan Le Fay, the Sorceress picture. But the thing is, and if I do a deadline, you know, I can paint faster. But the faster you paint and the less time you have, the more chance there is that it's not going to turn. You know, you're not going to have a chance to. I even have my art associates that I send my paintings to before I send them to clients or before they go public. I get feedback for my paintings. Good 2 friends I went to art school with, actually. We all give each other feedback. So I like to have enough time to sit with the painting, finish it, send it to my friends, not see it for a day or two, come back to it, and then I can work on it for that. I work on it usually another 2 days or 3 days.
Fresh perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important to get that last level of just excellence.
Sometimes people just take the painting and turn it upside down and look at it.
Yeah, well, I often, I do what I do is horizontal flip in Photoshop,
Horizontal flip in a Photoshop.
which can be a little deceiving because sometimes it'll look unbalanced, and then when you turn it right side, it looks fine.
Yeah,
I learned that in art school.
that's a great one.
The mind sees a certain way, so flipping it helps you see some things, but you can't trust it completely. You have to, as an artist, you have to understand what to watch for.
For sure.
So I'll show you another. Then this is a project. I'll show you a pretty involved project. This was for the magazine Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, the best of Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, Volume 2. And let's see, do I have the, oh, I don't have the painting with the, I don't have the painting with the typography. I didn't do the typography. I'm not crazy about the typography. I could upload the version. Should I upload the version with the typography? Would you like to see that?
Well, let's just see what you got right
Okay, okay. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of room left here in the top, right?
Yeah, for the
It's interesting, and there's a lot of attention paid to it, but it's purposely background elements, not the main elements of like the snake and the two characters. So that's where the typography goes, the best of Heroic Fantasy Quarterly 2, and over here on the bottom, by this little urn or whatever, it says, edited by so and so and so, whatever here.
right.
So this was for a anthology of this fantasy adventure magazine. Every 2 years or so, they put an anthology of the best stories for the last 2 or 3 years, probably at least 3 years of stories. And then, so they do a paperback and ebook of the best stories. So it's like 20, 25 stories, a lot.
That's cool.
They just knew that
they want for the cover when they how did this evolve?
They liked my work. They contacted me, and so they said they wanted something that captured the feel of old role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it definitely has that feeling to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely was going to go for either, creature coming out of a cave or something, or treasure being found, or some combination of those. So I'll show you some of the sketches I did. I was quite inspired for this, and I did more than was asked for the job. I really only needed to do about 2 or 3 sketches, but I really wanted to. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons when I was really young, like in high school. So
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed this idea going back to this kind of. So I'll just, I don't know.
Wait. Oh, okay. So you're going.
So this is not an order of when they were done, but I'll just show you the sketches, and they vary from fairly loose to a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
And so this you can see it well enough to see the figures and the general composition.
So this is called a rough sketch. Is this?
Yes, yeah, this would be a comp, a rough sketch, a comp, and it's not
Like as in the word composition. Comp.
Yes, and it's not worth the time to make it more detailed. As long I make it detailed enough to where I know they can tell where the figures are and they get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, your point is to communicate to the person that you're working with, who's trying to get the cover made, right? The editor, or whoever's in charge of the project, whoever's paying you. You're communicating with them. Hey, this is a potential layout, right? It's not fully detailed, but it doesn't need to be.
Right, and it's. I mean, if somebody wanted me to do complete drawings for every composition, I could, but they'd have to pay me more because it takes a long time to do a finished drawing. And even a finished drawing for a painting, I often don't. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's hard to say. You'll see on this how finished it is. This is more line based. Now, a lot of times when I do the finished drawing before the painting, I actually do a fair amount of pencil shading before I scan it in to paint it, because I actually use the shading within Photoshop as I paint. But in this case, it was more line drawing. So I did these, and again, you can see the figure here holding. It could be a spear, staff. Another figure here, tentacles holding them. Another figure fighting, some kind of sphinx-like thing. Again,
That's what I was getting. I was getting a sphinx.
Yeah, give an idea of it's trying to get an idea of the composition and general feel. And they could say, we like this from this one, but we're not quite sure. Can't tell about this character. Then I would take the ones they like and I would develop them a little enough so they could tell and make a decision.
So just to slow that down, what you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is, if you sent them, let's say, 3 different drawings, right? And then they had 3 different drawings to choose from, they could go, hey, you know what? I really like the Sphinx from this drawing, from drawing number 2. And then from drawing number 1, I really like the the character that's in the foreground, right? And can you put those together, right? So is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, that could happen. It usually, it doesn't happen that often as you'd think something like that would happen. Usually they find something they like, but what you say, absolutely I could do. And what I would do then is I would have to do another drawing. I
Do another
couldn't
thought.
take the elements and add it. I would literally, because they're totally different compositions, it wouldn't be balanced. So I would then do another drawing based on the elements they liked, and hopefully then I would hit that. So
Okay.
then here's some more. This one's there's really nothing barely going on here. I just want to get the idea. Here's a character with a sword, and here's some kind of sorcerer blasting, and here's a female figure. And I took it as far as I felt like I really wanted to take it to get an idea of whether or not they, liked this. And because I did so many, this one was much more finished. I
Hmm.
sent This was a much more finished collage, which I think was the best one, and they ended up not picking, which is humorous. And I used for a self-promotion piece that's just got a huge amount of attention for me.
So you
But
ended up completing this as a painting?
yes, I did, and I'll show you that painting after
Oh,
we
cool.
quickly, or I can show it to you now. Which one you want to see the painting now, and then come back to this?
Yeah, yeah, that's neat.
Okay.
I like this one.
So this was this is one they did not pick, and I thought that was a mistake, but they're the client, so
Well, yeah, and everybody's got different tastes, so.
yeah, and they wanted something very specific, and this is the finished painting for this,
Oh,
which
wow. Yeah,
turned
that's
out
so neat. That's really
wonderful.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was my best painting up to that point. That's the funny thing, is that after I finished it for them, I did this painting, and some
Yeah.
authors told me, they're like, "This is the best thing I've seen you done." So I've seen you do.
Well, it's
So
so
and it had all the elements they wanted,
unexpected
but
to see this person with green hair. That's just not something we see every day, right?
yeah,
With all the other like orange and peach color. It's really, plus on a white background, and it's got this terrific silhouette in the top right with all the like,
city. Yeah, yeah. Very exotic city. The
very
strange
exotic.
creatures
Yeah.
of birds with tails flying, and the strange, mysterious cloaked figure. The thing about it, even though there's opposite colors going on,
Hmm.
the reason it feels so whole and integrated, as if one light is being cast on it, is because of back painting. And that's another thing that a lot of modern painters I see making a mistake of, especially the gaming art. Everything's these bright, garish colors, opposite colors all over the place. There's no sense of continuity, because you do a back painting, and back painting is usually around this color, this gold. So I paint the whole thing as just gold, and then you paint just like a regular painter. You paint on top of that, and the gold comes through, and it colors everything, so that in a sense there is a gold light being cast and everything. So you think this looks green, but
Right.
it looks much. It's not very. It's actually not that green. It's almost a brownish color. I know that sounds crazy, but it's so it's it's deceiving your eye. Everything is so gold tinged right now that I was in Photoshop, and I chose that it would. You look at the color palette, and it would look brown. It wouldn't look green at all. So that's why everything works, because the greens are all have a gold light cast on there, and the blue
Yeah.
here on her shoulder has a gold light. Everything has a gold afternoon light, nostalgic light cast on it. So we
It's
go.
interesting because if you named all the colors, you said, yeah, well, this painting has gold and pink and peach and green and light blue, right?
Blue,
It sounds like the
purple.
colors are all over the place, but they're not. They
No.
all they all feel like one family.
Yeah, and that's like I said, because it's almost like you took a painting and you just painted everything just bright green and bright purple, the basic color it is, and then you took a gold piece of glass or plastic and you put it over that. And even with the background, this is not white. It's a cream ivory. It's
Oh
got a
yeah. Okay,
very,
I can see it
yeah.
as cream ivory now.
So
Yeah.
this is white here. If you see up here, this
Yeah,
is
I
actually
see
white.
it. I see it.
And there you see the difference, but it looks white.
Yeah, I think this would make a great poster as well as the book cover. Or
Yeah, I use it for a poster for my company, Dream Tower Media. I have
oh, great. Yeah.
typography there. So we'll go back to the so that they didn't choose that, but I still get something out of it, even when they don't choose it, as that can show sometimes. So then moving back down to the so I did that one, and here's another one, a very strange, interesting one with strange female sculptures snake-like, and then the snake shadow coming out of this giant snake cave head,
Yeah.
and a interesting, almost were-cat,
Hmm.
and a female warrior, bald warrior, which to me I looked at it as
These
like
are
the
all
whole.
like really strong female characters.
Yeah, yeah,
They're like, badasses,
yeah,
warriors.
yeah. They have a lot of soul, and they're not all warriors, but all the females I do, even the one you saw with the green hair, there's a feeling of it. It's a woman, not a girl, I think, and it's there's a I don't know how that comes through. That's just part of
They
my
seem to have like a purpose, like in the adventure that's not just to be rescued.
right. Yeah, I seldom in my stories or in my art there. I don't think I have a single woman that's like that, and I'm not doing it because that's popular that women are not rescued or heroes. It's simply I can't explain that. It's part of my very deeply personal thing with me of my understanding of mythology, my respect for the worship of the goddess that came before 1500 BC, my good relationship with my mother, all these things come in. I've always liked strong women. All the women I've dated have always been very strong personality wise. They may not have been like all well balanced individuals, but they were all strong. They were all like very strong people. So it's never really interested me to draw the helpless female or the helpless male, actually.
There you go.
I'm always having a very strong people confronting things that are more powerful than them.
Yeah.
They have to be strong to survive. They're not strong. They don't survive usually because of they're stronger. They survive by some quirk of fate, luck, combination of skill. So I think the paintings kind of show that. They show this character that's in a strange world with these dangerous adventure forces, but they're going to survive somehow. Not because they're a badass necessarily. They are, and because of that, they're able to survive. But they win out of something that's more magical, and I think that's shown in that kind of is shown in the painting, like you said. Even with Wonder Woman, the strength isn't totally that she looks like a badass. It's contained in the fog. I feel like it's contained in the flag. There's a mythic quality to it. You were saying something like that. There's
Yeah,
a mythic
definitely mythic.
quality, and that in mythology,
Strong mythic.
characters are able to survive going to the underworld or whatever, not because they beat everybody with their sword, but something else happens that's hard to explain. This is actually strangely, this is the one they like the best.
Okay.
And I was very disappointed because I thought it was one of the weakest sketches. I liked this woman's statue,
Yeah.
and she ended up having nothing to do with it because I didn't need it. But they said they liked this one. So once we finally talked more, we got on the phone and we talked more about it.
Yeah.
I understood the elements that they really liked. So I took that and I completely redid the drawing because I didn't care for the point of view was not low enough, dramatic enough.
So this is one where they picked a drawing that wasn't, and as they will, as clients will, right? They'll find something interesting that maybe isn't the same as what you found interesting, and that's fine. And then so you were able to then rework that to make it more of a rendered pencil before taking it to the painting stage.
Right, and I like I said, I actually really like the female statues. I love to do females, and I love to do statues. And it was the first thing that I threw out because just because you like something doesn't mean you can use it. So I do try to work the elements in that I like, but I knew that this female statue was just. I liked it in this picture in a sense, and it could have worked. I could have pushed her to the side a little more, but I knew that I had to completely rethink this picture if it was going to be successful. I couldn't take this and try to improve this. I could have, and a lot of artists maybe they would just said, taken this and then just fixed it. I mean, tightened it up as much as possible, painted it. And if I could have done that, and the client they would have liked it. Because I
So
know
what I see in this is, okay, so there's a person robbing the treasure chest in the front. There's this statue on the right, and then behind is a person with a sword attacking a snake. And is the snake in flames, or what's going on?
No, the snake just curled. It's coming out of some kind of hole. I'll be honest with you. Oh, the reason that you can't tell what this is because this is nothing. I take a very strange approach. You see all these shapes. I draw in different ways, but one way I draw is I simply draw organically. I simply draw lines all over the page. Then I start making forms out of the lines that intersect, and then shapes start to come out. And from that, I create a composition. And I know that sounds crazy, but my subconscious creates the scene that I'm sometimes trying to create.
And when you're drawing this stage, the pencil stage, this is not drawn on the computer. You're actually drawing on a big piece of paper.
Right. Yes, I draw, yes, 18 by 20, I draw on an 18 by 24-inch pad. So the paintings are actually quite big. I scan it, I finish the pencil, and then I scan that 18 by 24-inch, now usually now detailed drawing in, and then I put that in Photoshop, and then I paint that, I paint over it. I paint, the pencil stays on the painting. You can see my paintings, you go up close, you can find places where you can still see the pencil. So that's why they are real paintings. It's just that they're done in, instead of a photograph of an oil painting, you're getting a, you know, an export of a Photoshop. It's not, in the end, they're both digital. So what matters is not the process, it's how you get to what you're trying to do. So
if somebody hires you to do a book cover design, you're not going to send them an oil painting in the mail. You're going to email them a digital file, because you don't even paint this yourself. You're making this digital art in Photoshop, so you'll email them the file, and then that's what they'll use for the book cover.
Right. If I was painting in oils, then I would have to have a very, very good photographic setup, and I would photograph. It'd be the same thing. I would photograph the painting, then I would plug a USB into my computer, and I would transfer the photograph into my computer, crop it and everything, and make whatever it needs to be, a TIFF or whatever, in whatever format, CMYK or RGB or whatever for printing, and then I would send them that. So it's really the same. And once I take it to the computer, they're both digital. They're both digital images. It's just like digitally recording with music or recording on tape and then digitizing it. You're ending up with the same product. The only thing is I don't have a finished painting to sell, but I can make a high quality print and sign that. And some people even do that and then they paint on top of it some. You can get canvas prints. So the differences now are getting less and less. What people care about is the look of it. And the reason I get a lot of, I get contacted by companies that like a retro classic looking art, they contact me because they think my paintings are oil paintings. I mean, in a sense they are. I'm just doing it in Photoshop. So to me, it's very important that they continue to look like paintings and not, you don't see like photographs of flames that have been Photoshopped in and all the stuff that I think really robs the soul of the picture. I think you have to have an integrated look to the picture. And there's very few Photoshop kind of photo collage people that do good art. There's very few that to me move me at all or look good. Occasionally I see one that's decent. Usually it's a combination of what they've done plus the graphic design that makes it nice. But most of those are pretty bad. And the industry is I'm glad now the industry is really starting to move away from these terrible photo of someone just, Photoshopped with a background painted and stuff like that. It was a big trend, especially two to 5 years ago. And now,
just because it's faster? Is that why?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The big publishers were doing it too. Yeah. They just have somebody in-house. They're just taking stock work photos and they put something together in one day, literally 3 to 4 hours. They'll have somebody do that, and they don't have to pay an artist. So, but people have gotten sick of it, and they've seen through it, and thankfully, even the big publishers with some of the more literary fantasy stuff and the literary work, I'm seeing really nicely designed and painted stuff. Sometimes painterly, like mine, this kind of thing, or like the Rogues of Myr thing, more of a graphic treatment, silhouettes, or especially with literary work.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful. So the finished drawing is completely doing this over. Became this, which is quite different. It's the same elements.
So you rendered this out. This to me feels more rendered than the painting.
It is, and yes. But then the
I
painting.
want the painting to feel less rendered.
You mean you're talking about less? You probably mean less outlined.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not less rendered. I mean if you mean in the sense of like, if you look at the gold coins in the painting, it's insane.
Wow.
It takes forever. So
the gold coins.
And here's the gold coins here. It's simply a indication of where the gold coins will be. Right. So the painting is much more detailed. But what happens is the painting
all those scales.
Yeah, yeah, but they're not really lost here. They're simply they become shadowed and become realistically lighted. The thing is that the painting becomes a painting, and you don't. There are some lines that go on here, but mostly when you paint, everything becomes form.
And I do like, speaking of form, I like how the smoke, obscures the, the
Mhm.
right side of this pole.
The pillar. Yeah,
Yeah, it's nice.
yeah, yeah. That was kind of fun. It
It's
was
like
all.
thick, thick smoke coming out.
And again, I need to upload this. I don't have the whole thing. This was a wraparound cover, so this giant chamber, these steps go up and it just continues on all the way around, and it fades into darkness so that the type on the back could be just white because light colored type on top of it. You can barely, and you can see there's an entrance with steps. You can see light coming down these steps, and the rest of it's very dark, and then the dark, it slowly gets a little bit lighter as it comes to the scenes. So the wraparound covers, that was the back cover. Yeah.
Well, I think this is really neat because people get to see, the process from
Yeah.
those initial drawings,
Right.
right, and then even to find out that, right, the client didn't choose the exact same thing that you would have chosen as the direction, which
Right.
is fine, and then you were able to pivot to go with what the client wanted, and you
Right.
were able to come in and say, okay, if that's the direction you want to go, then let's do one more step because I feel like we want to have a little more solid, pencil before we move forward to the painting.
Yes, and I did send him this. Of course, once I did this, I didn't have to send him a rough of this. I knew that I was going to nail it. So I did the finished pencil, and I sent him the finished pencil, and they approved it. And then I went ahead and did the painting.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's great. That's great because every creative process does have you know um, changes in direction. So it shows that you're able to take that creative um, impetus and then move forward in that other direction. That's really neat.
yeah, and I was able to stay inspired, and I love the picture. I love the picture just as much as the one that they didn't choose that I ended up doing. And I like that painting more than this painting, but I enjoyed doing this painting, and I can put my whole heart and soul into it because it was still my composition. It was still my painting, and I was able to give them what they wanted. You and I have we had a discussion about this, about too much direction, too much control, too much art direction. My client
So,
can
so what is the right amount? What do you feel like really
ruin the
works
project.
for you?
Yeah, the too much. What I was going to say was that too much direction, too much control can ruin the project because you're hiring the artist for their vision and their talent, and they're not a house painter. You don't be like, I want the pillars white and then paint the front of the house green, and it's like that's not the way it works. If you want the best from an artist, you have to allow them to use their talent and use their skill and their inspiration to give you the best they can. And if you're going to control everything they do, they're going to lose their interest in the project, and they're just going to do it for the money. And they'll do whatever you say. They'll give it to you. They probably won't even put it in their portfolio. They'll be done. They'll be glad to be done with it. The right amount is going to be different with each client. This
For
client,
you? Oh, okay. I see.
yeah, this client, and I'm fine with a variation. I just simply don't want somebody to tell me exactly what to do. And if they want that, they probably should find someone else.
I want 1,000 scales on this
Right,
cake,
exactly.
and I want 150 coins.
Or if I sent them the finished picture, I would be a little bit annoyed if they say, well, could the snake's eyes be blue instead or something? And I'd be like, no. If they said, could the snake's eyes be gold? And I'd say, yeah, the snake's eyes could probably be gold. But these guys respect me now. And this project is what they already liked my work. But once we did this project, I actually educated them a great deal about working together because they had not hired a artist before to do a new piece. They've been licensing previously existing paintings. So this is the first time they had gone through this process, and it was a bit of a rough ride. And once we got through, they hired me for the next one, and all they did was like, here it is, do it. And I did 3 drawings, sent it to them. We both liked the same one. Boom, I did the painting, done. And both paintings have gotten a huge amount of praise, and people that have bought the book have said it's one of the best.
So when they said, here it is, do it, what did they say?
That would be this project. And this is a good example of, I told you how much direction they gave me, and they still didn't tell me what to do, even though they were very controlling at first and we had to figure out how to work together. They never said, we want a dwarf and an elf and a blah, blah. Now I could do that and I could still keep that in my painting. If they didn't go, we want a dwarf on the left side and we want an elf jumping off a tree, then I'd be like, you know what? If they pay me enough, I could do that. And the painting would still turn out decent, but they're not gonna get the best painting if they tell me that. If they're gonna tell me what to paint, it's gonna be a
But
combination.
what is the thing that you want to hear? Like
How this worked was fine. They said the old Dungeons and Dragons feel, and they sent me some pictures. They did send me about 5 or 6 old things from Dungeons and Dragons books, and the art was not good, but I knew it told me what they want. I knew what they wanted.
Okay, so they said just that simply, we want
And they sent the images
with the old Dungeons and Dragons feel to it, right? So they describe the feeling, the emotion, right? Something
they just said old retro Dungeons and Dragons, and they sent me about 7 images. Most of them were black and white, actually.
But I think 7 is a lot, right?
Maybe it was a lot. It wasn't. I didn't need that much.
3 is really all you need.
Yeah, I would say they could have sent me 2 and that would have been enough. 2 or 3. I would say 3 is a good number in case, because if I see about 3 of them and they're all completely different, then I can tell the client, you're not being clear to me. Or I can look at the 3 and I have to try to find the common element. I go, well, these 3 are really different. What I'm seeing is the same, as they all have, they're all action and they're all outdoors. So you want something like that. So I can start to communicate with the client if they're not very good at communicating, to try to figure out what they want. It's worse for them to not know at all what they want than for them to want too much control. I can probably wean them off the too much control and show them that they could trust me. But if they don't know at all what they want, that's when you are worried as an artist, because you don't know how to please them, because you don't know if they're going to like what you send. You could do 10 sketches and they wouldn't like any of them. So you have to have a limited number of sketches. I'll send you 3 sketches. And then after that, you will charge the client more if they still don't like what you've done, based on all the information, hopefully sufficient information they've given you. And you don't do the sketches until you say, okay, I understand what you want. So I think there's the first thing is the client tells you what they want. And if they're not telling you enough, the artist, and I would say, you need to send me some more images. You need to be clear, because I'm not clear what you want. Then they send more. Then I go, okay, I see what you want. It's this, right? And I'll email them, or we'll talk on the phone, and I'll go, so you want an old Dungeons and Dragons look? Maybe some people like finding some treasure and a monster. And they're like, yeah, that's all. Then I'm fine. But if they'd say, yeah, a monster, but don't make it a giant snake, I'd be fine with that too. I'd be like, okay, let's not, for some reason they don't want a giant snake, So all that's fine, as long as they don't start trying to tell you where to put things, that's just craziness. So this was quite detailed in the give and take. Once I understood what they wanted, I nailed it right away. The first sketch, they loved it. The painting was great. Now I'll show you the next project.
The things that help, right, just to try to reflect back what I'm hearing from you, right? The things that are helpful from the client would be things like, this is the emotion I'm going for. This is the feeling, right? This is the kind of world I'm trying to describe, like a retro Dungeons and Dragons. I want something, exciting, or mysterious, or some sort of like a word, like a emotion. And then the things that are less helpful, or the opposite of helpful, would be like, put an elf in the top right corner, put a dwarf in the bottom left corner.
Right. Because then they're doing the painting basically, and they're not letting you. And if I put an elf here and a dwarf there, and then they want the snake here, and I look at it, I'm going, well, that's not going to work, because the title has to go up here, and that's imbalanced because they want these 3 characters here and one over, and like I could spend like 2 weeks trying to figure out the problem they've created for me. It doesn't make any sense, and they create a problem for themselves. And if they start creating problems, it starts becoming work. I'm going to start charging them, or I pulled out of this project, and they pulled me back in again. Actually, yeah.
It's interesting because I think different people would work differently. I think there are probably some artists who would want, like, I need an elf in the middle and a dwarf on the left, and a skater punk magician on the right. Whereas that's not how you prefer to work.
It's not how I prefer to work, and most artists that have talent and are inspired artists would not want to work that way. You could get a technical artist. I can paint anything, somebody tells me to paint something, I can paint it. Again, if they pay me the money, they want me to do something, I'll paint whatever they want, and then I'll give them their painting, and I'll get my money, and they will not have the best painting they could have had for that product. That's the key. Even for a painter who's just very technical, they want to be able to have some freedom to paint something that's inspired, because a painting isn't just placing objects in places. A painting is what we've seen. It starts from a subconscious approach, sometimes even to sketching, to freedom. Because I don't have to worry about the beginning. I can just draw whatever I want. The client can throw it out. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. So I can be free. And what you do is when you can freely sketch and feel free to do what you want, you can get a lot of the bad ideas out too. It's not just about finding something great. And you can
want to have your fun.
What's that?
You want to have fun too.
You want to have fun
in conversation.
You want to have fun, and you
want somebody to just tell you everything, because then you're not feeling like you can participate and bring something to the conversation.
That's it. It's not about fun. Of course, I want to enjoy it. I'll enjoy it, whatever. But the point is, if you want the best from the artist, there's give and take, where you give them just enough to work from, and then let them go. And then if they don't do what you want, then you have to change things. You have to tell them, I don't like it, and let's do a different sketch or whatever. But you got to give the artist a chance to work. Otherwise, you're not hiring the artist. You're just hiring some painter.
That's the good thing about the composition stage, is that's when you can really see, some quicker attempts at communication, and you can say, you know what, I like this one for this reason, and so I want to go with this one, because the compositions don't take very long, right? How long does it take you compared to, of course, painting a fully realized painting? So
it depends. It depends. It depends. The rougher ones can go quite quickly, and I could do them. I could do a rough one. I'm not sure. A rough one would be it could only take an hour. But then something like this was longer, and like this one, I ended up having to get reference for him, So even though I wasn't at the, or did I? Yeah, I did. I shot a picture. I shot myself for reference for the male warrior. So I put that much work into this because I believe, yeah, I believe that much in this drawing that I risked taking the time to actually shoot some for reference and make this more of a finished drawing. They didn't use it, but I was able to use it. So to answer your question, this one took, this was probably a total of, could have been 5-6 hours or something, and the others were like an hour.
It takes time. Yeah, it takes time. And
but that was like making this composition. I didn't just come out. I had to figure out, and there's like, I need a warrior here. I had shot a reference of myself.
Yeah.
But so it's where you were talking about emotion and stuff. See, like this client does not talk that way. If a client wanted to talk that way, there's all different ways of communicating. They can say, we want dark and mysterious and gothic. Those would say something to me, but I would still send them some references of paintings. Go, do you mean this? Because that's a little more vague, and people think differently about words. If you send a picture, it's clear, but it's okay to communicate atmosphere also. But these guys don't talk that way at all in emotion. They just go, we want like an old D&D picture, and they send me pictures. They're not going to go, we want it romantic and mythological. They don't talk. They don't think that way.
That's great. That's a great. You bring up a great point, right? It's describing something with some amount of words, and then sending some images as well. Maybe 2-3 images, maybe a couple sentences.
Images
that's what you need in order to get started.
Right? Yeah, images are better because if it comes to one or the other, because words are abstract. And if I say to you Gothic, you and I are thinking two different things probably. Even if it's similar, we're probably thinking two different things. Yeah. Do you want to see the other picture real quick? Because this would be an example. Once I gained their trust as a client, and they gained my trust as an artist. They gained my trust as an artist. I gained their trust as an artist, and they gained my trust as a client. And then I wanted to work for them again. And when this project came forward, I'm sorry I don't have the other 2 sketches. I did 3 sketches. 2 were very loose. And when I did this one,
I really love this one.
I knew it was fantastic, and I sent it to them much rougher than this. Yeah. There wasn't the detail of all this. And this was not clear what this was yet, actually,
Yeah.
even. And I sent it just with kind of the snake kind of thing and the woman and this guy, and there was something going on here, and I don't remember what it was. Might have been a big monster, another monster, but it was such a good composition, and
Yeah.
they saw it. And if they didn't see it, I would have went back to the sketch and worked another hour or 2 hours on it and sent it to them again. But the three, I knew this was the one, and I just prayed that they would see it. And I sent them 3 sketches, and they're like, "We like this one." I was like, "Yeah, that's the one." So
Yeah.
I finished the sketch. This is the very finished sketch. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the painting became, and I didn't know what the colors were. I mean, it was a tough one. It was a very hard painting to do. There's a lot going on. And as
Yeah.
you see, again, very tied together
Yeah.
chromatically, color-wise, color theory-wise. It's very consistent with a lot of different colors, and yet all has this desert gold.
Hmm.
And for this one, they had no direction at all. They just said, I said, do you have an idea for this anthology? See, the problem is there's like 25 stories, but it's heroic fantasy quarterly. And I write this kind of stuff, and I've done this kind of art a lot. So I knew what the magazine represented. And I said, do you have a feel for it? What's going on? He goes, not really. It's like 25 stories. He's like, no, I don't really have any idea. I was like, okay. But see, they trusted me as an artist. And that, for me, an artist like me, to say, the reason it's okay for them to say, I don't have any idea, it's not like they're saying, here's a book, we don't even know what the book is about, and we don't have any idea. It's like, here's Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, Volume 3. I know what Heroic Fantasy Quarterly stands for. I know the magazine. I know the stories inside it. It's sword and sorcery. It's heroic fantasy. That's enough for me to do this picture.
There's so much detail here, right? They all have their own symbols, right? The hero has his like star symbol and all these
It's a whole world.
interesting, uh, interesting things on his costume. She does too. Uh, the the monsters have all these cool. Everything is interesting. Um, you know, like there's nowhere you can look here where it's like, uh, like not making me feel like, hey, this is a fully realized world.
That's great. Thanks. That's a great compliment. And that, I think it's a very good, important point. This was not any of the worlds and any of the stories that appeared in the book. So I had to create a world. And a lot of artists might be like, damn, that sucks. I have to create this whole world. But for me, it was exciting because I could just create whatever. And it was a challenge. I had a lot of thought. A lot of it had to do with the drawing and just the way the forms went. And in his chest, it seemed like there was a circle. So I went with a circle. And then these are very mythological symbols. The sun, her, a tattooed warrior, her belt being like a belly dancer. This has a feel of almost old Baghdad. This guy is almost the most strange and original way. I have no idea where he comes from. I simply out of my mind.
Well, he's got a COVID mask on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish I could claim that it was done before COVID, but yeah, this thing is like this weird dragon, sand demon, whatever. And I mean, it's just fantastic. I love it. And I didn't know what colors he was or anything. And I kept him very rough. I wanted him to look like a really hardened warrior. But what you're saying, see, this is really important, Michael. And that's a problem with a lot of paintings, again, and even some of the older paintings that aren't good, of the old sword and sorcery stuff. When it really looks cheesy is not only sometimes if it's not painted that well, but when it looks like it's a generic barbarian and there seems to be no real world there, just like a bad story where they don't develop the backstory, they don't develop the story well enough. You don't believe it's a real city the character's in or anything. I have to be as true to a good story. I have to be true to this world. So I have to create a look for the buildings that's almost like I actually created an architectural style. Yeah. Because if I just made it, and it's very much based on things in the real world, but not exactly. It's like a weird, almost old Russian, Middle Eastern thing, and then he's just he's a little bit science fantasy almost. To me, his boots almost look like almost look like science fiction. Like there's something almost like circuitry. It's not really, it's carving, but the
Yeah.
thing is, I don't need to know. It just has to look believable. That's the thing. You have to, it's the whole suspension of disbelief. When you look at the painting, you don't have any problem. You get sucked in. It's a real world. You're convinced. And that's my job, is to make this reader believe there's a real world inside the pages, behind the cover of this book. Inside this book, they're going to find real worlds, not cheesy, hokey, uh, a doll painting of a rubber doll
Yeah.
with a bad plastic dragon or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really cool. So can we switch gears and talk about how somebody could hire you to do their book cover design?
Absolutely. And also, I mean, just to add, I also do science fiction stuff. There's examples, they can see my work here, examples of, all kinds of different, and just to say real
And
quick,
we'll put a link to your
yeah,
portfolio.
I just want to make clear this. I actually have a different approach. So I do have, I've done like this, I do have ink, black and white stuff, and I do pencil. I do inside, if the client has money, I do the budget. I do inside black and white illustrations, like this. I can do inside black and whites. I can do inside. These are all done for Heroic Fantasy Quarterly. Actually, that the inside of that. This was a poem. This was a draw. I left it as pencil because I looked gentler. This was an illustration for a poem called Paladin and Thorn, and this was for the same cover we just looked at inside of the book. These were illustrations for the inside that they hired me to do, along with the cover. But also, I do science fiction, and I do different approaches, such as that look almost like anime, almost like high sophistication animation, like animation looking stuff. So this is more of a science fiction approach, colored ink, which fits together to more with some science fiction stuff more. But I can do painterly stuff, or I can do the color filled looking. But yeah, so go ahead. You wanted to talk about the how someone would hire me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so what's been going on is, from my perspective, is for the past since January or December of last year, uh, I work with self-publishers, they're coming from the writing side, uh, and they publish their books and they go on this self-publishing adventure, which is, it's all kinds of things to do. One of the things to do when you're self-publishing a book is to make the book cover design, right? And to work with somebody it's like a side quest, right? In the hero's journey. And so I've been trying to put together all the different things that I hear from all different sources of, from my clients who are self-publishing authors, and then you're my friend who's an artist who's doing this amazing work. I'm thinking, how do I put these people all together? So, and then how do we do it in such a way that's new and unusual, where people really are able to get a sense of because my perspective is from project management. That's my 9 to 5 that I'm doing right now. I manage projects to get done, right? So I want to really help people to be able to feel success in the work that is being done. So it's not always easy, as we've learned, in this interview, right? It's not always hunky-dory and, tra-la-la through the fields to try to communicate between writers and artists of how you can get the best, book cover or the best artwork made, right? Because people have different ways of communicating, people have different expectations. So by making a checklist, right, which is a list of things that happen in order, I think we're able to give structure to expectations and really help both sides to be able to find a way to communicate. And also, of course, by thank you so much, for being willing to take time and talk to people by making this video so that people can get an understanding of you, and where you're coming from as an artist, and then your communication style, and then as well as the beautiful artwork that you make, and then how they could work with you, right? So we talked before, and I sent you, we talked before about like what would go into that checklist, right? And we've worked on that a little bit, and I'm sure that'll keep evolving as well from where it is right now. But so, since we're already sharing your computer, do you want to go on your ListChub account?
Yeah. Just a second. Let me get out of full screen. I hope I kept it open. Oh, I didn't. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I did. Okay, excellent. Okay, so can you see this?
I can see your screen.
Can you see the ListChub?
No,
Shoot! It's only sharing Firefox, not my desktop.
I see ListChub over here though on your.
No, I've got the ListChub window open, but whenever you share the screen, it asks me what I want to show, and I chose Firefox. This page.
Do you want to? Can you?
Click
share again. Click share screen and then switch it to.
Yeah. You need me to? Okay, hold on.
Post attendee.
I don't know how to. Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to do it. Oh, here it is. New share. Let me do a new share. Oh, here we go. Okay. New share and Firefox.
Okay.
No, ListChub. There it is. Okay.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
All right. So what we're looking at is ListChub. And I'm going to, maybe I should share my screen.
Yeah, if you want to take control of what's going on, that'd probably be better.
You would have to you'd have to make me the host.
Okay. Stop share. I think I hit stop share first.
Stop share, and then click on participants.
Michael Dowell.
Yeah.
Invite, or what do I do?
Make me just click on participants.
Oh, make host.
Oh, okay.
It's under more.
Yeah,
It should be you now.
You're the host now. Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen. We share. Okay.
And my lighting's kind of spooky, man. It's the screen. I should put another light. It's the computer light is too garish.
All right, so I'm going to go here to listchub.com, where I will click. So this is the website that we're talking about, and it's it says right here, ready to publish more books, and then you click log in, and you'll put in the password. I've already signed up, but you can sign up here. It's free, doesn't cost anything to sign up, and then you can manage your books. Trying to log in. Why is it trying? There we go. Okay, took a second to log in now. All right, so under this account, I have a whole bunch of books made, and this is under the My Projects tab. So if I'm on my book cover, this is what you see. And so each step, right? Hire a freelancer, find an example you like, and when you check it off, then that means it's done, right? So when you're done with each step, then you're done with your book cover. And so you can, whoops, I need to go back. But you can check and uncheck them. It's not permanent when you check it off. So when you find an example that you like, that talks about stuff we've already talked about, right? You want to clearly communicate what you want. find an example of an image or several images that clearly convey what you're looking for. Right? 2 or 3 is good. And then you'll use these images to talk to your designer. And designer, is the freelancer, right? And you are the client because you're hiring the person to do that work. So that's found in my templates. You go to my templates, you click new project, you'd select a template, book cover design, and say, I don't know, fantasy book cover design, right? You create it there. Then it's under your projects, fantasy book cover design, right? Now you can, and it's going to say all the different steps. Now what you can do is you can go to jobs and you could say post a job, right? As a client, you can post a job. So you click on client, post a job, and then you sort of go through these steps. Now and you just talk about what do you want, right? I want a book cover design. That's in the book design, book cover design, continue. What do I want? I want a mysterious feeling environment on a hostile planet.
Now you're talking about, we talked about this before, maybe you don't want to go into, but we were talking about the fact that the book design and the book illustration are 2 completely different things.
Right. So the illustration is, let's describe what the illustration is versus the design, the cover. So do you want to just tell them real quickly?
Oh yeah, so the illustration would be, it could be a photograph and not a painting, but the illustration is basically the image that's on the cover, and the design is the type treatment, the treatment of the font and the title of the book. That's the book cover design, and then the interior of the book is an interior book design. But that design has to do with fonts and design elements, any kind of like design elements that exist. Some design elements may be almost like illustration, but basically illustration or a photograph, whatever, that's the image or the illustration or the picture, and not the design. Now I could do both. I did both for the Heroic Fantasy Quarterly Volume 3. We didn't look at the type treatment. I actually did the design also. So I did the typography of the cover. So the design would be the best of Heroic Fantasy Quarterly Volume 3, and the bottom edited by so-and-so. So I designed all that type, chose the colors, make a little drop shadow for the type, whatever I did with how I treated the title. That's the design of the cover.
Right.
And where that goes. And the illustration, so I just, on the second one, I simply did the painting. I gave it to him. The designer puts the type on top of the painting. So I just leave a space on the top of the painting to make sure that the type won't block any of the painting. But that is 2 separate things and 2 separate skills that often people don't do both.
Okay, so I'm just so in your case, you could do both. You could do everything, right? So if I write this description, I'm looking for an illustration with design, and type. Would that make sense? And then
you mean, I'm looking for an illustration and also the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you say illustration with design. I'm thinking you mean you do the illustration with design approach. Yes, there you go.
Okay.
So, design. Yeah.
Illustration should have a mysterious feeling environment on a hostile alien world. And the title of the book is Alien Holiday. Now I have to write this book. But anyway, so then I click continue. Oh, well, of course I should drag some images, which I could just go to Google. I could find the images. I'm not going to do that right now. Click continue. Details, a one-time project. I want somebody who can do character illustration and Photoshop. One freelancer, yeah. I'm going to say I want a fixed price because I don't know how many hours it's going to take. And I'll just put what I think my budget is going to be. right? As a writer. And I don't know, if this is the right budget. That's also uh, the artist can pitch their idea too. I think it'll take less than a month. I don't know if I have a time requirement. And now I can review all these things that I put out here, right? What I'm basically putting out is a job posting. And I can attach images here. I just didn't do it. And I'm gonna click post job. So now this job is active.
So they can say they don't have the images yet. They can save that, right? That's already saved. The template is saved.
This is yeah, we're gonna get that. What you're talking about, where you could just use a template to post as a job.
No, I meant like say they fill this out and they realize, oh, I don't have images because the information.
You can go back and edit it. You know what? You go back.
Right, so it automatically saves or what?
Yeah, it's already saved. Look.
Okay, I didn't know. Maybe
the description is there, and then I could just drag.
As long as you say continue, that saves each time you say continue.
It's saved. Yeah. No, not every time you click continue. When you save it at the end, update.
Okay.
Made any changes.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people might fill it out and they don't have the images yet. So.
Right. That's right. And they could go back and do the images later. Now I have this handy button, which we just programmed. We can invite freelancers. So we're doing the first testing of this. Okay, so far I only see these guys. I don't see, oh, you know what? You haven't made a profile yet, have you?
No, sorry.
You gotta go to Freelancers My Profile if you want to make a profile. So you gotta.
Let's just pretend I did.
The only way to do it is for you to type in. I could do book cover illustrations.
Well, you can do it.
Just type that much in for right now.
Well, I can't do anything.
No, you can do it on your computer.
You have control of the screen.
Oh, you can't do it right now.
I can't do anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying you can just do it for me if you just want. I don't know. If you just want to just by a name, just put the name and my email address or something. I don't know, whatever you want to.
All right. If you don't want later, I would be able to find you. It would be.
Can you do it with showing
Zoltan at right?
Zoltan.
Once you put your name there, it'll say your name. But if you didn't put your name there, it'll just say your email address.
Right.
And then you can. So if you want to invite them, so I've posted a job, right? Well, I've already posted one. I don't want to post another one. So let me go to get a job. And you can see your job post is live, right? Because I just posted this job, right? So now what you can do is, Robert, you can log in and you can say, oh, you know what? That budget is not completely different than what I want. I might change it a little bit, which you can do, by the way, when you submit your offer. You could say, actually, I need $750 or whatever that is when you click on it. So let me give the screen back over to you. Or we weren't able to show your screen. Is that what we realized?
No, we shared my screen. You were looking at my portfolio.
I know, but then you did something.
Well,
you weren't able to see your screen anymore.
Oh no, that's not a problem.
Okay, so I can switch it back to you.
Yeah, let me try it.
Okay, I'm gonna stop share, and then I'm going to make you the host. Change host.
And then I'll say, "Good, I look like an albino. The light's so bright." So.
Now you're the host. So now we can see your list job screen. Well, once you share it, you got to share screen.
Okay. Sharing that, I guess.
There we go. Okay, cool. Now you go to jobs.
Okay.
And then on the freelancer, go to get a job.
Get a job.
Get a job. All right, so now you can see that somebody's just posted this book cover design, and you can view the details. Okay. If you're interested, you can make an offer. You can apply.
Okay.
So it tells you how much fees are charged, right? So they're bidding $500. There's a service fee because it costs money to you know, run the website, send all the payments and all that stuff, advertise for the website, right? So it says you'll get 400. But if you say, hey, I need more, right? Then you can change those amounts.
Right.
And then you can make that offer. So yeah. Why don't you change the amount to whatever you want it to be?
Hmm.
You probably just have to change the bid.
Do what? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Oh, 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 I see. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
There you go, 800, and you'll get 640.
Oh, I see. So this is what list chop takes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's standard.
Cover letter.
And a cover letter, you would just have something you can copy and paste, and you say, hey, I've been doing this. Look at my awesome portfolio. Here's the link. I'm the greatest artist that ever lived.
Or should I say that ever lied?
Oh, very good. Very good. Very good. More like, you know, hi, I'm interested in your proposal, and I would love to work with you.
I get it. And this would be
my portfolio.
And I might, I probably wouldn't. Well, no, they could just go to my. Well, I don't know. They go to my profile would probably have my bio and all that, but I could put that here, I guess, if I wanted.
Yeah, when you click on that and when you add your profile, it will have some of that, but you still have to put something in the cover letter.
Right.
Say,
okay, and then attachments. I can attach pictures that paintings I think or design or whatever is relevant to the job that might convince them.
For right now, for the cover letter, just write something. You have to write something. He won't let you click through. Just write something. I think I could do this. Great, that'll work. That should work. Now you just click apply. There you put questions you have, like, hey, do you need 3 flying monkeys or 10 flying monkeys?
Right.
Deadline. That's a very good thing to communicate.
Okay.
And then click apply. Great. Cool. Now, if we switch back over to my screen, I'll be able to see your application.
So I can just do that. Just go straight to.
I'm the host now. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to share screen. Yes. Cool. Cool. Look at this. We're figuring this out. This is easy. Okay. So now I'm going to go to jobs. Actually, if I just refresh, I'll see if there are notifications. See that? Look at that. Notifications.
Okay.
Jobs. My jobs. Look at that. A proposal from Robert. I think I could dig this. Deadline?
Yeah, that's a real professional communication. That's an example of not professional and too succinct communication right there.
Right.
Maybe some people would like that, but
you are hired.
You are hired. I know nothing about you. You are hired. I'll send you full amount tonight.
Now I go to view contract, right? Oh, whoops. Oh, it took me to the wrong contract. Okay, that's good. That's good. So we found a bug in the system. For some reason you're under a contract, but it's proposal. That's what I need to do. View proposal. So right now that contract is sent the wrong thing. But if I click on view proposal, now I can hire the freelancer. And then I put in my credit card information right here. And this is one of the things that I think is really cool about this website that I've built here with my programming team is that we don't, unlike you always hear about, hey, Target website, Target got hacked, or whatever, Amazon, not Amazon, but other websites, Walmart got hacked. Those things really happen, and people's real credit card numbers go out into the wild. Because of that, the website doesn't hold anybody's credit card number, right? So if ListHub ever got hacked, there would be no credit card numbers. We don't save anybody's credit card numbers. You have to type it in. In other words, you have to type it in. Now this is saved. Whoa, that's not on the website though. It might save your credit card number on your own desktop.
Computer, right?
Anyway,
Do you take
Very
PayPal? Or
stuff.
you are at this point you only take credit card, or is it only go?
If you're paying, you got to pay by credit card. But when you're getting paid, you get paid through PayPal, if that makes sense.
I see. Okay.
So whoever's paying, they're going to put in their credit card number, right?
And it says pre-freelance will be paid after you approve the milestone. And how is that decided?
Uh, this is not, obviously not a valid credit card, right? So it's decided just that's one of the steps in the checklist, right? Is reviewing the work. So they review the work, and then that's when the payment happens. So then they would click approve. So if we went further through the steps, right, and we were able to hire because I entered a real credit card number, then we would be communicating on this My Team page. That's where all the messages happen. So you're Zoltan at Zoltan Illustration. You are hired, and then you would be able to submit the drawings, and then you'd submit the final drawing, and then they would approve it, and then you'd send them the final file after they approve and pay it.
So does the illustrator or whoever artist receive a deposit on the work?
I mean, you can negotiate that. You can say, hey, I want to get.
That could be one milestone to be the deposit, and they agree to that.
No, you can say, I want a deposit up front.
God forbid, worst case scenario, there's a dispute. How is that resolved through each other's financial institutions and California law? I'm assuming List Chubb is not.
Never, never. We never want it to be that. Never. Ever.
No. Well, wait, no. I'm saying that. No, my point. Well, it does happen. That does occasionally happen. My point is that if there's a dispute, List Chubb is not the one List Chubb is not going to get legally involved in the dispute. I would assume.
No, there's no. Yeah. So it has to just be that.
Bring up unpleasant possible
This is perfect. It's perfect to bring it up.
Yeah.
So basically, you would have to agree to the terms of the website, right? And so List Chubb would just have to make the call in the end.
I see.
Right.
So List Chubb will be involved in that.
But this should never happen because.
Well, of course, not should warp. My point. I'm not trying to sound negative. I'm just saying that I need to bring that up because people are going to wonder.
Well, the great thing about it is,
like you said, if they agree to the contract, they agree to let List Chubb decide. Then
that's the point of having all the checklist, right? So that everybody's expectations are met, and also, right, if you're gonna agree to a contract like this, the best. Maybe it's better to say, right, from the beginning, okay, we don't want to just jump into the $800 contract, right? The first thing we want to do is just the drawings.
Right.
And so in order to just let's hire for just the drawings, and so that's going to be not $800 just for the comps, right? It needs to be the smallest amount of work that can be done. And that's the first thing that gets paid for, right? So if the comps are, I don't know what they are, 200, right? I'm just pulling a number out of thin air. Let's say the comps are 200. I don't know what they are. But then you would do that first, and then, right, and then work your way up to the remaining 600, right? Okay, these comps work for you, this comp work for me, great.
What another way it would work would be you go ahead and agree to the 800, but in the agreement, it is that if we're not satisfied with the comps, then the project's canceled.
Sure. Yeah. So you start with the smallest possible unit.
Just so people know, just so people feel comfortable going ahead with, they can go ahead with the total amount, and as long as it's agreed between the artist and the designer and the client that first there's a approval of comps, but there's these step milestones, and if the first milestone is not reached, you never get to the second one, so the project would be canceled, and you'd agree to a 100% cancellation fee or whatever they agree upon, the client and the artist agree upon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does happen. It's literally happened to me twice in my entire career as an artist to have a project not go to completion. It doesn't happen often if you're a good artist. And the main thing is with a site like this, that's the whole point of the site like this, is you should be minimizing the chance of miscommunication. And
Minimize the risk in every step, right? Yeah. So there's the checklists, right? It's all about communicating to minimize everybody's risk, right? Because
right,
you don't want to risk your time as an artist,
right,
and other people don't want to risk their money,
for
right?
money
They
and
don't want to.
what they
They don't
want.
want to pay for something they didn't like, and you don't want to work on something. Plus, everybody wants to be happy in the
Right,
end, right?
right, right.
So, so start with the smallest possible unit, right? Um, so even if somebody comes to you and says, "I want to pay you, $10,000 to make I don't know, whatever they want, a film, to make an animated film that's 5 minutes long," right? And then you say, first, let's do a storyboard, and let's start for $50, and I'll just do a storyboard, and we'll see, you know, see what that's like for you, see what it's like for us working together. Cool, the $50 thing worked, or you know what, it didn't work, but they still paid you the $50 because of your time, or or they were really upset and they didn't like it at all, and then you said, tell you what, you pay me half this time, and we'll go our separate ways.
Right.
Whatever you guys work out.
Yeah, but it worked out beforehand, and that's the thing. Is you work out a cancellation fee. If you didn't like the sketches, are going to be $400, and if you don't like the sketches, I'm only going to charge you 25% for all the time I did, so you only lose $100. Or I told you before, there was one of the clients that I ended up was thrilled with the work. The client actually was very difficult for me to work with, and I walked away from it because I didn't want to deal with it anymore, and I gave them all their deposit back. And I said, and they had plenty of time to hire someone else, and we were still friends. Everything was fine, but I just said, I'm not right for the project, and you got plenty of time to hire somebody else, and all that. They came back to me. We ended up fixing things, and the project went fantastically. The thing is, we did not have it agreed. Really, I could have taken a cancellation fee, but these people were in a community that I work with, a fantasy community, and so what I was telling you, I think that the thing is that both people go into it, and this doesn't always happen, but if both people go into it with good communication, honest, and a sense of generosity, very seldom are things going to go to some kind of bad place. And that's why I was willing to walk away from that project, walk away from a few $100s, because it was more important that I stay friends with these guys because they run a magazine and we're in the same community. And that's it. And when I stepped away that way, they came back to me and said, we haven't had good communication. This is our fault. They sent me the deposit back the same day. They said, we can just send you the deposit back. I actually sent it back to them. I didn't say I will send you back. I actually sent the deposit back to them through
Yeah.
PayPal with the PayPal fee and everything. So completely clean conscience walk away. No burning bridges, no bad relationship. They came back, said, we really want you to do the work. We've never done this before. Sorry, and they had their side. They really actually apologized about it. We got back, talked on the phone, figured out what they wanted, ended up with a fantastic project. We were all happy. We've worked together since then. I think that's the moral of the story is, even if things don't go well, the community is not so big of artists and writers and clients and publishers, and you don't want to burn bridges. And I think that if you conduct yourself in an honorable manner, even if it may cost you a little bit as a client or an artist in the short term, you're in the end, you're going to gain your reputation and maybe improve it, and you're going to get, I think, in the end, profiting more from it than if you try to just get a little bit of money out of something.
Well, that's the thing, right? You're assuming that everybody's a good actor, and that's the point also of this website, right? Because we're starting from only people that I know.
Right.
You're the first artist that I've brought on board into a community of people who I've been working with, some of them for many years, right? So I've worked with everyone, right? So I don't want to bring people into the community who I feel are bad actors. I think it's people who are going to be coming from a place of compassion and trying to do trying to work together in a way that's positive, right? That's
Right.
truly giving each other what they really are trying to get,
You're
right?
trying to create something together.
Trying to
I think
create something together that didn't exist before, right? This is people's dreams. This is people's hopes and their heartfelt, messages that they want to put out there,
and
right?
that's what I take seriously
This is
as an
serious.
artist.
That's
When I
right.
told you, it's like, and the reason I say that I don't want somebody telling me every little thing to do is not because, oh, I want to have my say. It's because I know they're not going to get the best out of me. And in the end, if they want me to do this and that, I'll do that if they can pay me. The point is, I take what they're doing as seriously as if I wrote that book. And when I do the work for Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, that's how I feel. I feel it's my magazine. This is, and I put every ounce of myself into that. And the more you respect each other, the more you can feel that you are a part of what's going on, and you can really invest yourself into it. And that's why you don't want to alienate the client, and the client doesn't want to alienate the artist, or
Yeah.
you make bad feelings or try to control them or chastise them. You want to be respectful all along. You want to build a friendship. You want to
Yes.
build a friendship, and
I think as we
well,
do this more and more, people will get more experience, but now it's a beginning community. So we want to really minimize, right? We want to going to do the best possible communication and the minimal possible risk, right?
absolutely,
We don't,
yeah.
so we don't want, we want everybody to know what they're expecting. Okay, hey, I'm going to get this, because I've looked at Robert's user profile. I can see, the images that he's put on his profile. So that's some homework to do, right? And then
Also, that you could give references.
and that's the thing too. After the job is over, you rate each other. You put the stars rating, right? Like, oh, 4.5 stars. So easy to work with him, but he smelled. He was kind of smelling.
Through Zoom, you could actually still smell there was no shower in several weeks. That's a good point that you brought up. I didn't realize that. So yeah, that's good. I was talking about referencing, like, when I'm trying to get the job, I send them, here's Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, the work I did for them. They were thrilled with it. Here's their email address. Here's their Facebook page. Go there. You can talk to them, and they can talk to another client I've worked for. But that was good that you brought that up. So you got on list show. You're
Yeah,
going to be rated. So
yeah,
as a client, or just artists, or both?
both. You both rate each
Excellent.
other. So
Excellent.
as it's when the job's done, when the job's finished, then first the client will rate the freelancer, right? How great were they? 5 stars. It was super easy to communicate, and they got stuff done on time, and it was what I wanted. That's 5 stars, okay? And then same for the freelancer. They rate the client. Hey, the client was great at communication. I understood what they wanted, and they gave a clear deadline, and then they paid as expected, and everything was great. So that's what you would want in a perfect situation. And anything else, right? I feel like the bad situation would come from missed expectations,
Right.
or too much risk. By doing that first milestone small, something as small as possible, whatever that smallest unit is,
Right.
do that first, and that way you guys can, if it didn't work out, you could go your separate ways.
Right.
You know what, we tried the small milestone, it didn't work, it's not what I wanted. Then don't go forward with that same person, pick a new person. So it's like testing the waters every time, and then you find people that you like working with, and you can work with them again and again.
Right. Absolutely. And also, as you said, you bringing me into this. We both know some designers, some other people. If someone worked with me, a client, and they really loved the work I did for them, they're like, I really need a logo design. I'm like, it's not really my expertise, but I have a good friend. They're going to trust me because they've worked with me. If I tell them this person's totally professional, you can trust them. So that's how we build the community.
Yeah, then we can bring other people in, right, as we know what's needed, and we
And
can.
that's what it's about, is about building a community so that you can have a place that you can feel safe getting some really great professional work, minimizing
Yeah,
the.
yeah. From and it's all these people are self-publishers, so they need book cover design. Of course, you know, they need marketing help. They need help with a lot of stuff. But book cover design is where we're starting, you know. But we want to do lots of things, and it eventually will grow and expand the way it does. But I'm really excited about starting it in the right way, and I feel like by starting it in the right way, then you can keep the community as good as it can be as it grows, and try to steer it in a. I'm excited to see how it'll grow and how it can steer itself and try to make it continue to be a good thing.
Yeah, organically. I mean, it's like when you decide I want to make some friends, you don't go out and get together with 250 people and then act like they're your friends. That's what a lot of the social network sites are like. It's like I have 2,000 friends. Well, it's, you know, it doesn't really mean anything. You start with one friend, and then they introduce you to their friend, and the three of you hang out and you see if you like each other, and then a couple other people come over that you've known, and then they have a friend, and that's how friendships grow and how circles of friends grow.
Yeah,
and that's what it's about. Circles of
it
friends.
really is. And
Friends.
like now that you're saying that, you know, it reminds me of, you know, how much fun like going to your parties have been.
I was just thinking about it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have these parties, and it's like I invite people, and I trust anyone who I'm good friends with that comes to the party. I would trust them to bring a guest that I know is going to behave themselves and be a good person to have at the party.
And they've been so much fun. And
until COVID struck.
Gracious host, and such a stylish.
What'd you say?
You're such a gracious host.
Oh, God, they should write racist host. I was like, what? Great. Sorry. Gracious host, yes, thank you.
Gracious.
Gracious, gracious host. That's a bad rhyme. Gracious hosts and gracious guests, and that's the thing. That's what made these parties great until like I said, so COVID struck. So
yeah, and I've been missing those types of interactions, but they've been really special. Those have been really special parties, and it was one of the big things that I was really bummed out about, like right away as soon as I realized that, because you were already talking about the next one, and I was like,
I was already planning the next one. I already bought the lava lamp stuff for the '60s part, and then it would have happened April 16th, I think, or something like that. Well, we could just hang on and hope that things will get better, but it's not going to stop List Chubb, fortunately. We can still have the party on List Chubb. We can still have the virtual party, because so far as we know, the virus cannot be transmitted through the internet. We're only waiting to hear an Italian study that may change that, but so far it's
Italian study.
No, social distancing. No,
it's too far. One crocodile distance. I'm covering the camera. Well, it's been great. Yeah, thank you so much for taking your time and being willing to be a part of this crazy, weird, self-publishing community.
It's an interesting. It's like the frontier. It's the internet publishing frontier. It really is.
It really is a wild west right now. Yeah,
it really is. Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks again, Robert. And so people can find you. On List Chubb, you'll be Zoltan at Zoltan at
zoltanillustration.com. Robert Zoltan, but I go by the name Zoltan. That's my illustration name, and it'll have my portfolio on there. It's ArtStation, Zoltan Illustration on ArtStation. Yes, ArtStation.
And you can
.com/Zoltan Illustration. But if you go on ArtStation.com, you can just put in Zoltan Illustration, and I think I'll come up. I should.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. All right.
Find me on here. That's where you would find me.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Robert.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
How do you turn this thing off?
Yeah.
You can stop the video there.
Stop video.
Dude, you just got to stop the video there, Artie. You can't.
Oh,
I can't get off this. All right, but I'm gonna go have a snack.
okay.
Ah, there he goes. Hey, it was fun, man. Thanks. Thanks a
Oh,
lot.
cool. Yeah. Me
Let me
too.
know what else you need. I know I need to set up a